You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. Sox in the Basement brought to you by Family Waterproofing Solutions. Remember, they have Sox in the Basement deals for you. Check them out. Anything that has to do with your foundation, your basement, they've got it covered. They've got a portion of the proceeds from every job going to first responder organizations and also veteran organizations, so a portion of your money going to those. Plus, Family Waterproofing Solution is veteran-owned, female-owned, and family-owned, FAMWS.com. My friend, I was thinking to myself, we should have like a guest in, just like we have almost every week.
I'm not your guest.
And no, well, you're my friend. You sit at my 9-foot homemade oak bar. We talk White Sox.
Nice.
We've been doing it now for over 2 years.
Yeah.
But then what I realized was I didn't want a guest. Not this week. I wanted just me and you to talk for a half hour because a little over 2 years ago, we were in the thick of a rebuild. And,
yes, we were.
And if you think about where we are right now as we sit down on a Tuesday afternoon, worst case scenario, we're still tied in first place when this comes out on Wednesday morning. Likely, we may be still alone in first place when you hear this on Wednesday morning. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. Alone in first place and legitimately going to the postseason. I'd be shocked if they didn't get in there at this point. I think there's like a 1% chance they don't make the postseason.
I'm knocking on the wood of your homemade oak bar.
And a legitimate contender for a World Series, I would say.
So the last time I was down here was last Tuesday when we taped the show. This was before Giolito pitched his no-hitter. And I remember watching the end of it because I got home from work, but I caught the last third of the game. And everybody was like acting all weird on Facebook and acting all weird about the game on Twitter. I'm like, what is going on? And Benetti was obviously, and Stone were not saying the words no hitter. So they were talking, you were using some very strange terms. I'm like, what is going on? And then they showed the score and I was like, oh my God, Giolito has a no hitter going. So I watched the last third of that and, put that together with, the walk-off Grandal home run over the weekend, the Robert home run last night against the Twins, or Monday night against the Twins that he just absolutely crushed. You're just watching this and you're just like, man, this is a special team. This is a fun thing to watch. We don't, we haven't had nice things like this in so long. Look, we had a guy throw a no-hitter. We have a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate in Robert. I'd be shocked if Tim Anderson isn't in the running for MVP this year. Jose Abreu has come alive. He had a really slow start at the beginning of the year, but he is just smashing the ball now and he's driving in runs. I think he's somewhere. He leads. He surpassed Mike Trout in RBIs so far this year.
32 RBIs so far as we sit here right now with a 996 OPS on the season.
Yeah, I mean,
he's killing it.
It's just so much fun. It is so much fun to watch.
And Luis Robert could also be an MVP candidate. He could be Rookie of the Year and be an MVP candidate. That's the track that he's on right now. It's absolutely insane. Let me tell you as we sit here, because I just want to have this moment, because I think we deserve it as Sox fans to just talk about where we're at right now. On May 25th, 2018, Sox in the Basement debuted. The first show that we ever did. Hundreds of thousands of downloads later. And now sitting here at this moment where the White Sox are, at this very moment, and the road we got, including the craziness of this season where we didn't even know if we were going to have a season to get to this point. I looked up the lineup for the day that we released our first show.
Oh, this will be fun.
And I want to give you the lineup when we released our first show, Sox in the Basement. When the name Sox in the Basement, and I describe it on the first show. You can go back and you can go to soxinthebasement.com. The archives of every show is there. And I said, it's because we're sitting in a basement. It's because we're at a bar, and it's because we're in the basement of the standings in all of Major League Baseball. It made so many things. And I remember I said on the show, I can't wait for it to be ironic because we're not in the basement anymore.
Correct.
And we're not in the basement anymore. We're the exact opposite at this point.
Yeah, you are, like, I was looking over the power rankings today. Top 5 MLB power rankings in pretty much every major sports poll. I mean,
it feels incredible.
It does. It's great.
You feel a sense of accomplishment as a fan because you stuck through this. You feel a sense of accomplishment because you sat there and you actually paid attention to a team when some of the fan base may have gone away. You were looking at different prospects and saying, this guy might work, this guy might not. Here are the guys that were in the lineup. The White Sox lost 5-4 as the Tigers blew up Bruce Rondon, losing relief pitcher for 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning in Detroit. The Sox were leading at that point 4-2 and lost 5-4 on the 25th of May, 2018, the day that Sox in the Basement debuted. Yoan Moncada led off. Yolmer Sanchez was batting second. Sanchez was at third. Moncada was at second. Abreu in the 3 spot. Daniel Palka was your DH. Tim Anderson batted 5th. Omar Narvaez was your catcher batting 6th. Adam Engel was your center fielder. Charlie Tilson was your left fielder. And batting 9th, Trace Thompson, your right fielder. Think about where we're at now.
It's really funny because, a lot of those guys are still here.
Well, yeah, now Yomer's back too.
Yomer's back too.
And I'm going to say this right now. I put it up on Twitter. I knew I was going to get flack for it because there was just a section of White Sox fans that love Yomer. He's a great little mascot. He pours Gatorade on himself. But Ricky Renteria is addicted to Yolmer Sanchez. It would be like giving an alcoholic a bottle of scotch as a present for a job well done and saying, you did a great job not drinking. Here's some scotch. Like, that's what it's like.
Like Rick Hahn just gives him Yolmer Sanchez back because he's done such a good job.
Look at Yomer's return, right? There was a questionable move on Monday with Yomer's return.
Yeah.
Jarrod Dyson is sitting there on your bench. He's the fastest guy available. You've just watched him distract the pitcher so badly he throws a cookie to Luis Robert for a massive blast. He's going to make an immediate impact, and he could have stolen second base. And worst case, on the hit that follows up where he should have been on first base, he would have gone first to third. Nobody else on the team could have gone first to third, but Jarrod Dyson would have been standing at third base.
Yes, he would
with
have.
only 1 out. And instead, Yolmer Sanchez goes in as the pinch runner. Now, it all works out in the end, but I had all these people on Twitter going, oh, no. He's saving Dyson as a defensive replacement when they get the lead. First of all, that's stupid. You have to get the lead first. Secondly, he didn't use him after he got the lead.
Use him.
So in reality, the addict, this Yolmer Sanchez addict that Ricky Renteria is, chose Sanchez as his best option for the go-ahead run instead of Jarrod Dyson, who was literally put on the team for that reason. And they won on Monday. But remember this, Luis Robert saved his manager twice in that game.
Right,
it was incredible
because of the home run, and then because of the ground rule double down the left field line.
Jace Fry is ready. Stone is literally saying, Hoyer's got nothing left. They're clearly going to go get Fry for the left-handed hitting Jake Cave. And then Stone is showing the guys on the bench, talking about the guys on the bench available to Rocco Baldelli as to whether or not he could actually counter Renteria's move. He's got 2 really bad switch hitters and 2 left-handed bats on the bench, so he can't do anything really if Fry is brought in. So they're both going, well, here comes Fry. Nope, Fry never comes out. Hoyer goes in and gives up the go-ahead run. Now, Robert saves his bacon with a mammoth shot because it's like you're playing with a video game character you created when you start. Like if you had a video game and you're like, I'm going to make myself and I'm going to give him 99s across the board and make him the greatest ball player in the game. That's what Luis Robert is. He just comes right out and buries a home run and saves his manager the first time. Then after the mistake with Dyson and putting Sanchez in instead, where you could have had a fly ball score the run from third and now you need a legit base hit, Robert saves his bacon again with a shot down the line. Like he doesn't take the loss, he doesn't take the win. My Ricks factor still has Ricky Renteria at only -1 in the last week. He won them a game and lost them a game. but still, he saved his bacon. Yolmer Sanchez is crack for Ricky Renteria, and he's been a very good recovering addict. And then, for some strange reason, the White Sox gave him a bag of crack on Monday. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't wait for the Yolmer, he's starting at second base game that's coming. And you know it's coming.
Right, because
even though Danny Mendick's killing the ball, you know it's coming. I just felt like Mendick and Madrigal both needed a day off at the same time. And Yolmer, he gives us that spark. Like, all Yolmer's job should be is sitting at the end of the bench, waiting to dump Gatorade on himself. Like, he's a Gold Glove player. Trust me. I know he's a Gold Glove player. He plays very good defense, and I could understand if you were in a pinch or you wanted better defense at a certain position that you used him. I'm not saying that he's useless, but Gerard Dyson should have been the guy that came in on Monday. The Sox just were fortunate that things went the way that they went. He's already making addict moves because he loves him so much. Remember how the team wasn't bringing him back, and he never gave any at-bats to Danny Mendick in September last year. Right, and then look at Mendick right now. And the logic when it comes to him, it's like he's like that girlfriend that calls Ricky at 3 a.m, and she has done him dirty so many times, and he keeps showing up at her door at 3 a.m. And at 4 o'clock, while he's laying next to her, some dude calls her and she leaves. That's what this is. Sox in the Basement listeners, do the hard work. And if you're a hardworking man or woman on the South Side, you need to be outfitted properly. And that's why you should visit Red Wing Shoes in Evergreen Park and New Lenox, a work boots specialty store that carries sizes from 6 to 16 and feet as wide as 4E. A 115-year-old company that came out of Red Wing, Minnesota, and one of its largest stores in the entire Midwest is in Evergreen Park, Illinois, ever since 1976. When you're on your feet, the footwear is everything. So why not get an expert fitting? They warranty, repair, and offer free conditioning with laces. And they also carry Carhartt work clothing as well. Located at 3347 West 95th Street in Evergreen Park, Illinois, with a sister store available to you at 208 East Maple Street on Route 30 in New Lenox. Visit them today. You work hard. You've earned it. Red Wing Shoes. I started off the show so happy.
I know. What happened to you?
About Yolmer Sanchez.
All you had to do, all I had to do was remind you that Yolmer Sanchez is back. Look.
I mean, I don't have anything against Yolmer Sanchez, and I'm sure he has a place on the team, but your manager is addicted to him, and he uses him in weird instances. He just does weird stuff with Yolmer. He loves him so very, very much.
Look, listen, this is a good day, right?
It's a wonderful day.
We're trying to be happy about the fact that you have, not one, but two potential MVP candidates. Hell, I'm going to say 3 if Jose Abreu keeps doing what he's doing all the rest of the year.
Look what he's doing against righties.
You got this. Do you have Cy Young candidate on this team? No, not with Bieber doing what he's doing. But still, you have a bullpen. You've got
Giolito and Keuchel are both pitching incredibly well. When I see them on the mound, I go, we're probably going to do well.
You've got balance. You've got speed. You've got power. The lineup is dangerous as hell from 1 to 9. Don't worry. Be happy.
No, right? I am happy. I still see things that drive me nuts. There are still moves that he makes. He really screwed up the game that they lost over the weekend against the Royals. He let that game get out of hand, sticking with pitchers too long and bad bullpen decisions. And when the team tried to come back, they couldn't. It was already really out of reach. That frustrates me. And then he'll turn around the next day and he'll do something really smart, like elevate Eloy Jimenez, or maybe it was the day before. Maybe it was the first when Moncada dropped him down for one day.
Yeah, it was.
And Jimenez did very well in the 2 spot, and everything worked out perfectly with that lineup. And you got to give him credit for the win. Here's the thing: over the last 3 weeks, Renteria is basically just perfectly. He's not losing you any games, not winning you any games.
He's a replacement level manager.
He's a replacement level manager.
Do they have a metric for that?
Right, but he's not. But he was losing you games in the first few weeks of the season. So there is an improvement. He's actually winning you some games.
What are we going to call that? M war?
I don't know.
Manager war?
I've come up with a new stat.
Can we do that? Look, expectations now with what has happened over the past month. Expectations for as high as they were before should be higher.
Joining me on the phone line right now, one of the three drunk uncles that sit out in Section 108, one of the godfathers of Twitter. We have My Sox Summer on the line for yet another irrational White Sox argument. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing great. And it's like, as long as we're winning, everything seems like really gravy. So let's do this.
I know, and we're trying to have a really positive show today, but you know this as well as I do. White Sox fans are bipolar. Nothing is more bipolar than White Sox Twitter. Even during the game on Monday night where the Sox win, it almost felt like at times everything was falling apart at the seams, and that's what brings me and you together to have these irrational arguments.
100%.
What's funny is you wrote a blog that touches on this subject, so I'm going to tell it to you what I'm thinking right now. Based upon how the White Sox hit last year with Todd Severson and how they're hitting this year with Frank Manchino as their hitting coach, it is obvious that Manchino is an absolute hitting genius, and Todd Severson sucks. Argue with me.
Right. I mean, 100%, right? I mean, if you're at least going by comments on Twitter and people's thoughts, if we're not hitting well, it's always the coach, never the player. And if they're hitting well, that's just his innate ability to know, the player's innate ability of how to hit a ball. So, yeah, Frank McKenna, I can't argue with that because Frank is obviously light years ahead of the way Todd Severson was last year. So I can't argue this. That's flawless rationale that I learned by following the White Sox and all things White Sox on Twitter.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's science. That's all that is right there.
100%.
I have another one for you. It's something that Dave and I brought up already on this show. So here it is. The White Sox have made a terrible decision putting Yolmer Sanchez on the active roster as he is Ricky Renteria crack. And Renteria will put him in way too many times, and he should just be relegated to sitting on the bench guarding the Gatorade cooler.
Well, I don't think we go. I thought we might be beyond Yolmer Sanchez. I thought we would not need to have to deal with another Yolmer Sanchez viewing, but apparently he's so good that we have to bring him back to have him out there. The White Sox cannot be the White Sox without him. I am only going to say that it's okay because apparently Moncada is hurt, and Yolmer probably can play third a little bit better than Mendick or Madrigal. I don't think I want Madrigal on a hot corner. I don't think he's tall enough to get some of those the balls that may be hit to him. Wish we didn't have to go there, but here we are.
Is it possible that this reported meeting between Renteria, Hahn, Williams, and some of the team leaders, when they said, "What do you guys want?" at the deadline, they just looked at each other and said, "We want Yolmer back"?
I don't know what I would say if I was in that meeting, but that would definitely be one of the topics I would want to bring up. Like, let's bring Yolmer back, guys. Like, it hasn't been fun without him. Let's bring him back.
My Sox Summer, one of the three drunk uncles from Section 108, the godfathers of White Sox Twitter. Thank you for stopping in and having an irrational argument with me. And the White Sox are in first place, so let's be honest, it's all gravy right now.
It is.
We have a brand new sponsor. I want to tell you all about it, okay? Sure. And I've got this great read. This is the first time I've done a live read for them. So this is the first time I'm reading it. So you and I and the listeners will all hear this commercial at the exact same time. This is how prepared I am for it.
Okay.
Braiding your daughter's hair, taking care of a sick parent, the promise to your baby that there's nothing in this world you wouldn't do for them. This is gripping. For 175 years, New York Life Insurance Company has lived by this belief: love is more than a feeling, it's an action. Putting your love in action starts with a simple phone call to your local New York Life agent. David Miller can be reached at 773-957-3630. That's 773-957-3630 or at newyorklife.com. David Miller will make sure your needs always come first, just like you do for them. Were you surprised that the White Sox didn't make a move at the trade deadline, and did it anger you? Because some people were very angry they didn't make a move, but I actually went, whew, at least we didn't screw that up and give away something good
Right.
in a shortened season when the window's just opening.
There were a couple of rumblings ultimately, in the end, Hahn came out and he used basically the same line that he's been using for the past, 22 years, in that they're not going to sacrifice long-term. What is it? They're not going to sacrifice long-term flexibility and success for something that is ultimately going to be short-term.
Right.
That was his kind of, I'm paraphrasing that, of course, but if you follow Hahn, which I'm sure all of you do, you've heard him say stuff like this as long as 2 years ago. Hahn is playing the long game here with this team. He wants this team to be good for a decade. Okay. So what I gathered that had happened is that he picked up the phone, he made some calls. In the end, the asking price was too high. Whatever team he was talking to wanted either too many prospects or a particular prospect or asset that Hahn did not want to give up. And I'm okay with that.
What I feel is this. I feel like the White Sox, and we can ask our guests, it's going to be on Sox in the Basement Saturdays. It's a brand new thing that we're doing. Sometimes it's live and sometimes it's just a long conversation. This Saturday is going to be a long conversation with White Sox beat reporter from MLB.com, Scott Merkin, returning to the show.
And
nice. I've got
Scott's back.
List of things that I want to ask Scott, and that'll come out on Saturday on demand everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at SoxInTheBasement.com for the new Sox in the Basement Saturdays, in addition to the normal Wednesday weekday show that comes out. And I'm going to probably ask him a lot about these different topics, but one of the things I really want to talk to him about is it possible that what we have going on right now with the Sox is we have a couple of really high-tier prospects that we believe are pieces that we want to hold on to, and then we don't have anything else, where other teams have these mid-tier guys that they can do quantity over quality. Like, look what the Padres gave for Clevenger. They basically made a trade that I would propose in my fantasy baseball dynasty league, where I give up like 7 young players to get one guy, even though none of them may ever be good enough. And I'm just getting rid of guys that half of them I don't even know if they're going to make it to the majors. But I just gave this ridiculous list of players and was able to do that because I have so much depth that I can give away the mid-tier prospects, because I don't need to give away the high-end guys. I could just put a bunch of mid-tier guys together, and the Sox don't seem to have that. They may be a little weak in that second level of prospect, and that might have been the problem, that Hahn is sitting there talking to teams about certain pitchers that he wants to get, and they're like, yeah, but I'm not interested in anything except for one of these 5 guys, and those 5 guys are the ones that he doesn't want to move.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's trying to say, hey, yeah, sure, I mean, I'll give you this starting pitcher, but you're going to have to give up an Andrew Vaughn, or you're going to have to give up a Michael Kopech. You're not going to do, or a Dane Dunning. You are not doing that.
Well, I was petrified about the idea of giving up Vaughn. I think he's going to be a spectacular hitter. I think if you're marveling at Luis Robert, I feel like when Andrew Vaughn gets here, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, this team is incredible. Like, I don't want to give up him, but I would have given up a Dunning and possibly a Kopech if it meant Mike Clevenger for a couple of years of control. Because here's the thing, Clevenger's already Clevenger.
Right.
Okay. But I expect that there was a higher asking price because they wanted a couple of everyday players and a couple of prospects. The Indians were looking for a large amount of return, and the Sox don't have enough mid-tier guys to offer them a package of 5 without giving away more than just Dunning or Kopech. They would have had to give up maybe both of them. They would have had to maybe throw in Nick Madrigal. Like, there were things that they don't have certain things, and that's why they couldn't win that.
And you got to realize this too: the Indians aren't stupid. They're not going to just trade Clevenger away within the division.
Unless we had to kill the Padres offer. We had to destroy the Padres offer to get him.
Yeah, we would have had to. It's like we would have had to have overbid for Clevenger in order to get him, because the Indians know right off the get that the Sox are going to be looking for a starting pitcher, and you're not going to trade a guy like that within your division. You're just not going to do it unless the Sox were to come up with a ridiculous amount of prospects that, a lot of people probably would have been angry about giving away. So I'm not too upset about the lack of activity at the trading deadline. No. Are we thin in the starting pitching? Still a little, yes, because of the fact that You've got the Rodon injury still.
I think he'll be back soon. No, all indications seem to be he's coming back.
Dude can't stay healthy.
No.
You were counting on Kopech this year, and you're not getting that. So yeah, a bit thin in starting pitching, but not so much that they have to completely sell the farm in order to get one guy.
And you've got some pretty good guys coming out of the pen right now. You're lucky that Matt Foster has been so good. This Cody Hoyer is a really solid pitcher. I mean, you've got some nice surprises coming out of your bullpen. Look, in the end, this is a shortened season during a pandemic where anything could happen. In 2 weeks, the entire political landscape or something could change and baseball just gets shut down out of nowhere. You could see like some weird resurgence of a mutation of the virus happen and baseball gets shut down out of nowhere. Or you could go into the first round and your young team plays with nerves like they did in the first inning against the Twins in the first meaningful series they really had, where they had to go into it, and you could lose in the opening series of the playoffs and go, why did I mortgage my future when there's 16 teams are going in and it's a 1 in 16 chance and I got a young team and my window is just opening. So I'm okay. I wanted to trade, but I wanted to trade at a stingy price. And if they couldn't get that, I'm okay with it.
And then one other thing, just the starting pitching. Remember this too. Starting pitchers are not going as deep into games now because of the way the rosters are structured. So if you can get 5 good, it's not like you need to get 6-7 good innings out of your starting pitcher like it used to be. You get 5 good innings out of a starting pitcher on this team with this bullpen, that's enough.
All right, as we finish this show up, and don't forget, Sox in the Basement Saturdays is a new thing here we're doing at Sox in the Basement. You're still getting the show, 30 minutes of Sox, each and every Wednesday on demand, everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. But you're also getting Sox in the Basement Saturdays. Last week it was live. This week it's going to be a long conversation with Scott Merkin about the White Sox. Remember, you can call in anytime, including if you missed the live show. We have a voicemail, 708-459-8406. Plus, and this is amazing, you can now get Sox in the Basement swag through the new Broadcast Basement On-Demand Radio Network swag store. Just go to broadcastbasement.bigcartel.com, and there are Sox in the Basement items on there along from other podcasts that the network does. Go to broadcastbasement.bigcartel.com. The always in-demand White Sox trucker cap is up there at a very, very low price. All right. You brought over some great memorabilia, and I want to talk about it because it's awesome. No, I do. Because, I mean, like, Dave keeps going in, like, you were playing in your toy closet as a kid because you have all this stuff from your parents' house that you've, like, stacked up, and you go through it every once in a while because you moved everything out of the house, but you don't have, you haven't really gone through everything.
Everything kind of got, everything got thrown in it, right. It was all stored at my parents' house. When my parents moved, it was up to me to go through everything in the house and pull everything that I, needed to pull. So I got a lot of White Sox memorabilia out of my parents' house that they had saved. I basically took the stuff and threw it all in a closet in my house, like, along with the my old toys and stuff like that. But it was all just in there piled up with no rhyme nor reason. So I decided to take the weekend to kind of go through and sort of organize it in there a little bit, just so it's not like a hulking pile of everything in my closet. And so, yeah, I found some pretty fun, White Sox memorabilia that you may want to display here.
You brought tickets that have the scores on them and the winning pitchers that are amazing.
Yeah.
The pièce de résistance, the incredible piece of memorabilia you brought over. What is that back there sitting on the couch?
So this was a giveaway.
It's huge.
I can tell it's big. Yeah. This was a giveaway in probably, we figured it would be 1990. This was a because the gentleman on this poster is in White Sox pinstripes, and this would have been the only year that he would have worn such a uniform.
So it's got to be 93.
Yeah, a life-size Carlton Fisk growth chart. A life-size Carlton Fisk poster.
Did you get marked off on this growth chart? Did you check it?
No,
so
no,
this is an unused Carlton Fisk life-size 1993 growth chart. A poster the exact size of Carlton Fisk standing in his pinstripe uniform right before they gave him the Harley and sent him out of town. And he probably gave it away like the day before.
Might even have been that day. Might even have been that
It's like,
day.
get all the Fist stuff. We're releasing them. Get it all together. We're giving it away all on one day.
Right.
That's awesome. I don't know where the hell I'm putting it, but it's awesome that
Yeah,
you brought it up.
I'm sure this bar you will find a home for it in this bar somewhere.
Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement.
Socks in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on socksinthebasement.com.
Dad, what is this?
It's a growth chart. Your Uncle Dave brought it over.
Why can't I have a Yohan Moncada?
Because it's Carlton Fisk. He was a big catcher. It's historical.
Who the hell is Carlton Fisk?
Just shut up and put it on your wall.